Shalom. This week we are reading Parashat Terumah, the 7th Torah portion in the book of Shemot, Exodus. The Parashat of Terumah deals entirely with one subject, Hashem's commandment and instructions to Moshe for Israel to build the tabernacle and its vessels in order for him to dwell among the people of Israel. From this point on, the remainder of the book of Exodus and the entirety of the book of Leviticus will be taken up by the Mikdash and its service. God's commandment of, and they shall make for me a sanctuary, a Mikdash, and I will dwell among them, is not simply another commandment, but the goal of everything that has preceded it. It was the purpose of the Exodus from Egypt. It was presaged by the forefathers and prophesied at the splitting of the sea. Indeed, we are even taught that as a primordial divine idea, the concept of the Mikdash, the sanctuary, preceded creation, and it can be said to be the very goal of creation. The Torah portion begins as Hashem commands Moshe to gather contributions, terumah in Hebrew, literally meaning to lift up, to gather these contributions from the children of Israel for the construction of the tabernacle. Specific materials are needed for the particular vessels and items. The Torah commands the assembly of 13 specific materials: gold, silver, copper, dyed wools and skins, wood, oil and spices, and precious stones. All that so, as the verse tells us in chapter 25 and verse 8, all that so that they shall make for me a sanctuary, and I will dwell among them. The items that are to be created are enumerated here: the Ark of the Covenant, its cover, the cherubim, the table of the showbread, the menorah, the curtains and coverings of the tabernacle, the beams, the sockets to curtain, the altar, and the tabernacle courtyard. This is the beginning of a new world, one in which God chooses to rest his presence in the midst of the children of Israel. You know, in reading this parsha, we can practically feel God's own palpable excitement, as it were, at the prospect. How else can we explain the Torah's seemingly disproportionate attention to this set of commandments? Clearly, the tabernacle, later in history to become the Holy Temple, and its service, is not just another commandment. A house is not just a house, it's a home. And now God is asking us to build him one. Wow. And the amazing thing is to realize that reading Parashat Terumah, as well as next week's Torah portion of Tetzaveh, it provides an intimate glimpse into Moshe's private time with God. Frankly, it's like reading someone's diary. Maybe it's like reading someone's love letters. Because don't forget that all this time, Moshe is on Mount Sinai. And all of this will be repeated when he comes down from there and rejoins the people in Parashat Vayakel, when he gives over these commandments to the people in a public assembly. Right now, this is how Moshe is spending his time on Mount Sinai with God. Chillin'. As we were told in the last verse of last week's Torah portion of Mishpatim, Moshe was on the mountain for 40 days and 40 nights. This was a marathon Torah study session which illustrates the inexorable bond between the written Torah and the oral Torah, sometimes referred to as the oral tradition. It was during this period, our sages teach us, during this period of time, that God taught Moshe the entirety of the Torah and all of its many details, how the commandments are to be fulfilled, performed at every time and under every condition and circumstance. All the mysteries of creation, secrets of the knowledge of the Torah were given to Moshe during this time. The entire vastness of Torah knowledge. So, if that is the case, as we are taught, why do these Torah portions give us the impression that it was chiefly the concept of the tabernacle that occupied so much of Hashem's time with Moshe? Or perhaps the question should be, why is the part that Torah records in such detail the part about the tabernacle? All of the insights of the oral Torah were taught to Moshe by Hashem himself during this time. So what is the special attraction of this material? And while we are considering that thought, I would like to call your attention to 3 specific verses in our parsha that really need to be understood. In regards to the plan of the tabernacle, we read in chapter 25, in verse 9, according to all that I show you, the pattern of the Mishkan and the pattern of all its vessels, and so shall you do. And regarding the menorah, we read in chapter 25 and verse 40, now see and make according to their pattern which you are shown on the mountain. And referring to the altar, the Torah states in chapter 27 and verse 8, you shall make it hollow out of boards as he showed you on the mountain, so shall they do. What is this idea of Hashem showing him something, images on the mountain? So while Hashem taught Moshe and transmitted to him every detail of every one of the commandments, with every possible variable in detail, including all the commandments that are part of the concepts of the tabernacle, which became the holy temple, God specifically taught him everything, but there are three particular points that the Torah actually bears witness and testifies somehow here in these three verses, that God himself showed them to Moshe. He showed him the pattern of the tabernacle and the pattern of all its vessels, the plan of everything, and images of the menorah and the altar. And regarding these two items, the Torah specifically uses the expression that Hashem showed him on the mountain, meaning Sinai. What is this teaching us, emphasizing to us? That they learned these things together on the mountain? As we've already stated earlier, the Torah already informed us in the last verse of Parashat Mishpatim that Moshe was on the mountain for 40 days and 40 nights, and we already know that it was during this period that he was taught the entire Torah. But yet, only these three things, plan of the tabernacle, the menorah, and the altar, only these three things was Moshe shown in the mountain. So open up your hearts in the deepest way. You know, the purpose of creating this mikdash, whether it was in the time of the Mishkan, the tabernacle, or in the time of the mikdash, the holy temple, the purpose of creating this sanctuary is to ensure that what happened at Sinai continues forever. But by Sinai now, I don't refer simply to the indescribable experience, but to the closeness, the bond, the love affair, the perception, the clarity of knowledge of Hashem and our relationship with Him. In Parashat Terumah, in his beautiful and moving review of the Sinai revelation and the giving of the Torah in the book of Deuteronomy, Moshe describes in chapter 4 of the book of Deuteronomy, Parashat Terumah, he says, so you approached and stood at the foot of the mountain, and the mountain was burning with fire up to the heart of heaven, darkness, cloud, and thick cloud. Hashem spoke to you from the midst of the fire. You were hearing the sound of words, but you were not seeing a likeness, only a sound. And at the conclusion of this whole amazing review in Parashat Terumah, how does Moshe sum it all up? What was the purpose, the reason for everything that you went through at Sinai? He says, Deuteronomy chapter 4 and verse 35, he says, you have been shown in order to know that Hashem is God. There is none other besides Him. So that's what Sinai was all about, just to know that there is none other beside Him. Simply put, just to retain and expand upon, act upon, and live according to that knowledge is the goal, the total goal of every day of our lives. And thus the Holy Temple, which occupies such an important place in Torah and such a central place in our lives, its purpose is to help keep us focused on that goal and work towards it. So open up your heart in the deepest way. Each of these things, these three elements that Hashem showed Moshe in the mountain, represents a hugely novel idea in the world, a totally new direction for humanity, which is unprecedented in human experience and history. A new perception that will lead to an actual change in reality, but a change you can believe in. Regarding these focal points of the tabernacle, the temple, the menorah, that will bring about this huge change, the verse states, according to what you saw in the mountain. These words refer not only to the items that Hashem showed Moshe, but to what you saw in the mountain. You have been shown in order to know Hashem is God, there is none other beside Him. Precisely because of what you saw in the mountain, The reality of Hashem, the purpose of these things, meaning the purpose of what goes on in the temple, is to hold that point in our relationship, to keep the circle turning, to perpetuate that state of knowledge. The Sinai Vision, or rather the Sinai take on reality, the Sinai insight into the nature of reality, is the toolkit for life. Showing Moshe these things on the mountain is because the purpose and very nature of these elements is to stay focused and connected to Sinai forever. The idea and the commandment of erecting the tabernacle itself, a house for God in this world, meaning, of course, for us to focus on because he doesn't need a house. This idea is a complete change in the world. What this idea means for all humanity, that it's possible for man to seek out God's presence and to live committed, concentrated on his presence. This idea, it's been hijacked, carjacked, sidewinded, swindled, expropriated, humiliated, imitated, raped by everyone in the world, by every little God wannabe. Building a temple doesn't change anything. Building a temple for the God of Israel, who is the creator of all humanity and father of all mankind, that changes the world. The menorah, also shown to Moshe on Mount Sinai. The menorah changes the world. He had to be shown this in the mountain because the menorah conveys the idea that man is responsible to bring light into the darkness. Specifically, that a person is responsible to and can bring Hashem's light into this world and not just sit idly by and allow the darkness to subdue the light. In this world, darkness precedes the light, and it was evening and it was morning. But the menorah addresses the illusion of darkness, the darkness that's only from our side. Psalm 139 states, "Would I say, surely darkness will shadow me, then the night would become as light around me. Even darkness obscures not from you, and night shines like the day." Darkness and light are the same. It's the divine light of the Shekhinah that shines forth from the menorah and lights up the darkness of this world, but it needs to be kindled by man. And that is what Sinai was all about. And thus God showed Moshe on the mountain. This is what he had to be shown because this is the message of Sinai. Also the altar, Moshe was shown at Mount Sinai. And this is perhaps the most unprecedented idea of all, that God's will is even manifest in the lowest strata of creation, that all of existence can be elevated to play a part in a cosmic unity and harmony that recognizes man's search for redemption through his effort to refine his nature and rise above his base instinct. This is very Sinai-esque. At Sinai, Israel understood that nature is nothing more than an illusion that conceals Hashem's perfect unity. At Sinai, when the heavens opened up and they heard Hashem's voice speaking more than one word at a time and perceiving no form, they understood that no two moments are ever alike in Hashem's world. Sinai is the secret of living life in a state of constant renewal, and this is the purpose of its extension, the Holy Temple. Several weeks ago, in Parashat Bishalach, we learned about the manna, the bread from heaven that God provided for Israel in the desert. Hashem commanded to Moshe, there in Parashat Bishalach, to safeguard and keep a measure of this remarkable and miraculously heavenly bread. Keep it aside. It was to be kept in the proximity of the Ark of the Covenant in the Holy of Holies. And we read there these verses. The house of Israel named it manna, and it was like coriander seed. It was white, and it tasted like a wafer with honey. Moshe said, "This is the thing that Hashem commanded. Let 1 omer full of the man be preserved for your generations, in order that they see the bread that I fed you in the desert when I took you out of the land of Egypt." And Moshe said to Aaron, "Take 1 jug and put there an omer full of manna, and deposit it before Hashem to be preserved for your generations." As Hashem had commanded Moshe, Aaron deposited before the testimony to be preserved. And the children of Israel ate the manna for 40 years until they came to an inhabited land. Hashem commanded Moshe in those verses personally to keep a container of manna as a keepsake for all generations, as testimony, as a reminder of his relationship with his people, as a reminder of those days, as Jeremiah calls them in chapter 2 and verse 2, when you followed after me into the desert, time when our love was new and so exciting and growing ever stronger like young love does, those days when the love was so obvious, he commanded that this be done, this testimony of the manna, to show, to remind, to demonstrate that this love will never be interrupted, never be broken forever, that it's a reflection of how it really always is, despite the concealments and illusions. The verse tells us they ate the manna until they came to the border of the land of Canaan. From that day, from the day that the nation crossed over into the land of Canaan, they no longer received the divine gift of the manna, but they had to grow and produce for themselves. But that's no less divine. So this testimony was to remind the people that in the future, when the manna will have ceased, as they need to work and struggle and toil for their own livelihood, they should always see Hashem's love. They should always be able to recognize the love of the one who is really providing for them. Even when they will be eating bread from the earth, they should recognize that it's all truly bread from heaven. Placing the container reminds them that even though they now receive their sustenance through the cause and effect of the natural world, seemingly, which gives them the illusion that they're preparing it for themselves and they don't really see the one who's giving it, it's still emanating only from him, and the love is still interrupted. And even if it's concealed, it will never cease. This concept is the heart of the Holy Temple experience. This is what keeps Sinai alive, and that's the purpose of the Holy Temple. This is what Israel saw in the mountain. This is what Hashem showed Moshe in the mountain. May we merit to rebuild the Holy Temple speedily, as Abraham called the mountain of the Holy Temple Mount Moriah, Hashem Yireh. On the mountain, Hashem will be seen.